The elevator wouldn't stop spinning. Or maybe that was just my head. I pressed my palm against the cool metal wall, trying to steady myself as the floors blurred past. 23. 24. Almost there. Just get to the office, grab the contracts, and leave before anyone noticed how badly my hands were shaking. The fever had started 3 days ago. Just a little warmth behind my eyes, nothing worth missing work over. Then came the chills, the aches that settled deep in my bones like unwelcome guests. This morning, I'd barely managed to button my blouse, my fingers fumbling like a child learning to dress. But I needed those contracts. The Westbridge deal was supposed to close tomorrow, and I was the only one who knew where I'd filed the amendments. The elevator dinged softly, doors sliding open to reveal the familiar marble expanse of the 42nd floor. Maddox Industries occupied the entire level, all glass and steel and calculated intimidation. I'd been working here for 8 months as a legal coordinator, careful to stay in the administrative shadows, never venturing near the executive offices on the south side. The south side where he conducted his legitimate business. My heels clicked against the marble, each step requiring more concentration than it should. The reception area was mercifully empty at 7:30 in the morning. I'd chosen this time deliberately, knowing the regular staff wouldn't arrive for another hour, knowing he had a standing breakfast meeting across town every Thursday. The keycard trembled in my hand as I swiped it at the security door. Red light. I tried again. Red light. On the third attempt, it finally flashed green, and I nearly sobbed with relief. The hallway stretched before me like a tunnel. Fluorescent lights too bright, making my eyes water. Or maybe that was the fever. My silk blouse clung to my skin, damp with perspiration despite the aggressive air conditioning. Contract storage was 3 doors down. 2 doors. 1. I fumbled with my keys, dropped them, watched them scatter across the floor in slow motion. When I bent to retrieve them, the world tilted violently. My knees hit the carpet first, then my palms. The keys glinted just out of reach, mocking me. "Get up, Emma," I whispered to myself. "Get up." But my body had other plans. The tilting became spinning. The spinning became falling. And the last thing I remembered was the soft thud of my head against the carpet and the distant sound of footsteps running. Voices drifted through the darkness, pulling me up like fishing line through deep water. Beeping machines. The astringent bite of disinfectant. A hospital. I was in a hospital. My eyelids felt weighted with lead, but I forced them open, squinting against the afternoon light streaming through blinds. There she is. A nurse leaned over me, her face kind but concerned. "Welcome back, Miss Chen. You gave everyone quite a scare." I tried to speak, but my throat felt like sandpaper. She quickly helped me sip water through a straw, the cool liquid both painful and relieving. "What happened?" I managed to croak. "Severe dehydration and a bacterial infection that's progressed to pneumonia," she explained, adjusting my IV. "Your fever was 104 when they brought you in. You're lucky someone found you when they did." Lucky. I closed my eyes, trying to piece together the morning, the office, the contracts. Falling. "We've called your emergency contact," the nurse continued, checking her tablet. "He should be here any moment." My eyes snapped open. Emergency contact? I hadn't updated that form since. Who? But even as the word left my lips, I knew. I knew because I'd never changed it. Couldn't bring myself to erase that last connection, even after everything that happened. Even after I'd walked away 8 months ago. "Mr. Nikolai Volkov," she said, and my heart monitor betrayed my panic with rapid beeping. "He seemed very concerned when we called, said he'd be right over." No, 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 no. I tried to sit up, but the room swayed dangerously. "There's been a mistake. I need to update that form. We're not. I'm afraid he's already on his way," she said gently. "He said he'd handle everything. including the insurance paperwork. You're lucky to have someone who cares so much. Lucky. That word again. If she only knew that Nikolai Volkov's version of caring came with golden handcuffs and velvet cages. That his protection felt like possession, his love like beautiful suffocation. The nurse left to check on other patients, and I stared at the ceiling, trying to calm my racing pulse. 8 months. I'd managed 8 months of careful avoidance. Taking the job at Maddox Industries had been a calculated risk. I needed the stellar salary to pay off my mother's medical debts, and legal coordinators rarely interacted with the CEO. I'd been so careful. Different hours, different elevators, different coffee shops. I'd even moved across the city, though I doubted that had fooled him. Nothing happened in Chicago that Nikolai Volkov didn't know about. The air in the room shifted suddenly, like the pressure drop before a thunderstorm. I didn't need to look to know he'd arrived. I felt him the way you feel electricity in the air before lightning strikes. Dangerous and inevitable. "Leave us." His voice came from the doorway, low and commanding with the faint trace of a Russian accent that emerged when he was emotional. I heard the nurse's quick agreement, her footsteps retreating. Only then did I turn my head to look at him. Nikolai Volkov stood in the doorway like he was posing for a magazine cover on power and danger. 6'3" of controlled violence in a Tom Ford suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. His dark hair was slightly longer than 8 months ago, swept back from a face that belonged in a museum, all sharp cheekbones and cruel beauty. But it was his eyes that had always been my undoing. Green like winter forests, deep and dark and full of secrets. Those eyes were fixed on me now with an intensity that made breathing difficult. Or maybe that was the pneumonia. "Solnishko," he said softly, using the Russian endearment that meant little sun, and the one he'd whispered against my skin in better times. "What have you done to yourself?" "It's just a cold that got out of hand," I said, hating how weak my voice sounded. "You didn't need to come." He stepped into the room with the fluid grace of a predator, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like a prison lock. "You listed me as your emergency contact. I forgot to change it." "Did you?" He moved closer, and I caught the scent of his cologne, wood and spice and something uniquely him that made my traitorous heart skip. "The same way you forgot to mention you were working in my building." I looked away. Maddox Industries has 3,000 employees. You didn't think I'd notice? His laugh was soft and dangerous. "You didn't think I'd know the moment you walked through those doors? That I haven't known every single day for 8 months exactly where you were, exactly what time you arrived, exactly what time you left?" A chill ran through me that had nothing to do with fever. "You've been watching me." "I've been protecting you," he corrected, pulling a chair next to my bed with deliberate precision. "There's a difference." "Not with you, there isn't." Something flickered across his face. Hurt, perhaps. Though Nikolai Volkov wasn't supposed to feel such pedestrian emotions. He sat down, his presence filling the small room, making it hard to breathe. Or maybe that was still the pneumonia. "The security footage shows you collapsed at 7:36 this morning," he said, his tone deceptively casual. "You lay there for 12 minutes before Gerald from maintenance found you. 12 minutes, Emma." "How did you—" I stopped myself. Of course he'd already reviewed the footage. Probably had it sent to his phone the moment the hospital called. "You've been sick for days," he continued, his jaw tightening. "The security footage from earlier this week shows you struggling, holding onto walls, stopping to rest in the stairwells. Why didn't you take time off?" "I had work to finish." "Why didn't you go to a doctor?" "I thought it would pass." "Why didn't you call someone?" His voice dropped lower, dangerous. "Call me?" I met his gaze directly then, seeing the storm building in those green depths. "You know why." The silence stretched between us, filled with 8 months of unspoken everything. 8 months since I'd walked out of his penthouse with nothing but the clothes on my back, and a heart so thoroughly broken, I still felt the edges cutting me when I breathed too deeply. "The doctor says you need at least a week of IV antibiotics," he said finally. "Possibly 2. The infection is severe. I'll manage." "In that studio apartment in Bridgeport?" His tone held a mixture of distaste and concern. "Alone? With pneumonia?" "It's my life, Nikolai. My choice." He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, bringing him close enough that I could see the dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. "Your choices nearly killed you today. That's dramatic, even for you." "Is it?" He pulled out his phone, swiped to something, and turned it toward me. "This is your blood work. See that number? Your white cell count was triple normal. Another day, maybe 2, and you would have been in septic shock." I stared at the numbers without really seeing them, my vision blurring. Whether from fever or tears, I couldn't tell. "You're coming home with me," he said, his tone brooking no argument. "The penthouse is fully staffed. You'll have round-the-clock care, a nurse if needed." "No. Emma." I said no. I forced strength into my voice. "I'm not going back there. I can't." His hand moved toward mine on the blanket, stopped just short of touching. That millimeter of space held 8 months of distance, of things unsaid, of wounds unhealed. "Then tell me why," he said quietly. "Tell me why you walked away without a word. Tell me why you've spent 8 months hiding in plain sight in my own building. Tell me what I did that was so unforgivable you'd rather risk your life than ask for my help." I closed my eyes, but that only made the memories clearer. The gala 8 months ago. Arriving at the penthouse early to surprise him in the dress he'd had sent from Paris. Hearing voices from his study. His Lieutenant Victor's laugh, cruel and cold. "She's made you soft, Nikolai. The Bratva is watching. They see weakness." And Nikolai's response, the one that shattered everything. "Emma is a temporary distraction, nothing more. When I'm done..." I hadn't stayed to hear the rest. "It doesn't matter now," I whispered. "It matters," he said fiercely. "You matter. You've always mattered." The door opened before I could respond, and the doctor entered with a clipboard and a concerned expression. "Miss Chen, I'm Dr. Martinez. How are you feeling?" "Like I've been hit by a truck," I admitted. He nodded sympathetically. "That's expected with this level of infection. We'll need to keep you for at least 48 hours for IV antibiotics. Then you'll need continued care at home. Do you have someone who can help you?" "She does," Nikolai said before I could answer. Dr. Martinez looked between us. "And you are?" "Her emergency contact," Nikolai replied smoothly. "I'll be handling her care." "I haven't agreed to that," I protested. The doctor looked uncomfortable. "Miss Chen, I have to stress that you'll need assistance. You won't be able to manage alone for at least a week, possibly 2. The pneumonia has significantly weakened your system." "She understands," Nikolai said, his tone final. After the doctor left with promises to check back later, we sat in tense silence. Outside, Chicago sprawled beneath gray February skies, the lake churning dark and restless. 8 months ago, I'd stood at the windows of Nikolai's penthouse watching these same views, thinking I'd found home. How wrong I'd been. "I need to make some calls," Nikolai said finally, standing with fluid grace. "Rest. We'll discuss the arrangements when you're stronger." "There's nothing to discuss. I'm not going with you." He paused at the door, his back to me. "Yes, you are. Because whatever you think you heard, whatever reason you had for leaving, you're wrong. And I'll prove it to you." Then he was gone, leaving only the scent of his cologne and the certainty that my carefully constructed walls were about to come crashing down. I dozed fitfully, waking to find the room filled with flowers, not just a bouquet or 2, but an explosion of white orchids, roses, and peonies that transformed the sterile space into a garden. Their perfume battled with the antiseptic smell, almost winning. "Subtle as always," I muttered, recognizing Nikolai's handiwork. "You used to love flowers." His voice came from the chair beside my bed. I hadn't heard him return. "White orchids especially. You said they reminded you of snow." I turned to find him watching me. His suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up to reveal the tattoos that marked him as Bratva royalty. Eagles and stars in Cyrillic script that told stories of violence and power, and a life I'd never fully understand. "How long have you been sitting there?" 2 hours. He said it like it was nothing. Like he hadn't run an empire that demanded constant attention. "You were restless, calling out." Heat flooded my cheeks. What was I saying? My name, mostly. His expression was unreadable. "And something about leaving. Always leaving." I looked away, focusing on the flowers. "Where did you even find orchids in February?" "I have connections." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "There's very little I can't acquire when properly motivated. Except the one thing you can't buy." "Which is?" "Understanding why someone would walk away from all of it." His smile faded. "No one walks away from me, Emma. Not without explanation." "I did." "Yes," he agreed quietly. "You did. And I've spent 8 months trying to understand why. 8 months watching you build a life carefully designed to exclude me. New apartment, new routines, even new coffee shops, though I know you prefer the espresso at Cafe Nero. You've been following me." It wasn't a question. "I've been protecting you. There's still a bounty on your head from the Dimitrov family. Did you think that disappeared just because you left me?" Ice flooded my veins. I'd almost forgotten about the Dimitrovs, the rival family who'd seen me as Nikolai's weakness, who'd tried to use me as leverage 6 months before I left. Nikolai had handled it with swift brutality, but apparently not thoroughly enough. "That's not possible. You said—" "I said I'd dealt with it, and I did, with the immediate threat. But Dimitrov's son took over operations 3 months ago. He has ideas about revenge." Nikolai's expression darkened. "Why do you think I've had people watching you?" "People?" My voice rose. "Plural?" 2-man teams, rotating shifts, very discreet." I stared at him, fury momentarily overwhelming my exhaustion. "You had no right." "I had every right." He cut me off, his voice sharp. "You're mine to protect, whether you accept it or not." "I'm not yours, Nikolai. I'm not anything to you. You made that very clear." Confusion flickered across his face. "What are you talking about?" "The gala, 8 months ago." "I came to surprise you." The words tumbled out, bitter and sharp. "I heard you talking to Victor. You called me a temporary distraction, said when you were done, 'Stop.'" He was on his feet suddenly, his face pale. "You heard that conversation?" "Enough of it. But not all of it." He ran his hands through his hair, a rare display of agitation. "Christ, Emma, not all of it. I heard enough. You heard what I wanted Victor to hear, what I needed the Bratva to believe." He moved to the window, his back rigid with tension. "They were planning to move against you, to remove the distraction permanently. The only way to protect you was to make them believe you meant nothing." My heart stopped. "What?" "Victor was sent by the council to assess whether you'd made me weak, whether I needed to be replaced." He turned back to me, his eyes burning with intensity. "If he'd reported that I loved you, truly loved you, they would have killed you to ensure my loyalty remained absolute." "You're lying." But even as I said it, I remembered things that hadn't made sense. The sudden increase in security around me. Nikolai's tension in the weeks before I left. the way Victor had watched me at that gala like I was prey. I've done many things, Solnishko, but I've never lied to you. He returned to the chair, leaning forward intently. What you heard was theater, a performance to keep you alive. If you'd stayed, you would have heard the rest, would have heard me tell Victor that you were leaving anyway, that you'd already ended things, that I was letting you go to maintain appearances while I focused on business. But I hadn't ended things. We were happy, he finished quietly. We were happy, and I was going to propose that night. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, worn at the edges like it had been handled often. 8 months I've carried this. 8 months of wondering if you'd run, because you somehow knew what I planned. If the thought of forever with me was so unbearable you had to disappear. Nikolai. The ring was my mother's, he continued, not opening the box. The only thing I have of hers. I was going to ask you after the gala. Had it all planned. Candles, champagne, that ridiculous dessert you love from Cafe Nero. Instead, I came home to an empty penthouse and a note that said only, I'm sorry. Tears burned my eyes. 8 months of anger and hurt. And it had all been a misunderstanding. A horrible, crushing misunderstanding. Why didn't you come after me? Explain? I tried. That first night, I went to your apartment, but you wouldn't answer. Your neighbor said you'd been crying for hours. I thought... He paused, his jaw tight. I thought I'd hurt you somehow, that you'd finally realized what I was, what being with me meant, and decided you deserved better. Then, when you took the job at Maddox, keeping distance but staying close, I thought maybe you just needed time. So you watched me, protected me, for 8 months. I would protect you for 8 lifetimes if needed. He said it simply, like it was an immutable fact of the universe. I didn't realize I was crying until he reached out, his thumb gently wiping away a tear. The touch was electric, 8 months of longing condensed into that single point of contact. Come home, he said softly. Let me take care of you. No expectations, no pressure. Just come home. It's not my home anymore. It never stopped being your home. Your things are still there. Your studio, untouched. That ridiculous coffee machine you insisted on buying. Even your slippers, exactly where you left them by the bed. His voice roughened. I couldn't bring myself to change anything. Pathetic, isn't it? The man who controls half of Chicago's underworld, unable to pack away a pair of slippers. Nikolai. Please, Emma. The word seemed torn from him. Nikolai Volkov didn't say please, didn't beg. Just until you're well. Then if you want to leave again, I won't stop you. But let me have these days. Let me prove that what you heard wasn't what I meant. I studied his face, seeing exhaustion and pain etched in the lines around his eyes. 8 months had aged him, made him harder somehow. Yet here in this moment, he looked vulnerable in a way I'd rarely seen. The Dimitrovs are handled, permanently this time. Victor, too, for his part in forcing that charade. His expression darkened. No one threatens what's mine without consequences. I'm not yours, I said automatically. But the words lacked conviction. No? He leaned closer, his scent wrapping around me. Then why haven't you changed your emergency contact? Why do you still wear the bracelet I gave you? His eyes flicked to my wrist where, indeed, the delicate platinum chain rested against my pulse. Why take a job in my building where you knew you'd risk seeing me every day? The salary. There are 100 firms in Chicago that would hire you tomorrow. Try again. I closed my eyes, too tired to maintain the walls I'd built. Because I'm an idiot who can't seem to let go, even when I should. Or because you know, deep down, that what we have isn't something you walk away from. It's something you fight for." A knock interrupted whatever response I might have made. A young nurse entered with a medication cart, smiling professionally. "Time for your antibiotics, Miss Chen." As she adjusted my IV, I caught her stealing glances at Nikolai. I couldn't blame her. Even exhausted and emotionally raw, he was magnetic. Danger and beauty wrapped in designer clothing. "I'll need to monitor you for about 30 minutes, she said, checking her watch. "Make sure there's no adverse reaction." "I'll stay," Nikolai said, settling back in his chair like he had nowhere else to be. Like running a criminal empire was less important than sitting in an uncomfortable hospital chair. The nurse left, and silence settled between us, heavy with unspoken words. Outside, the sun was setting, painting Chicago in shades of gold and amber. 8 months ago, we'd watched countless sunsets from his penthouse, wrapped in each other, planning a future that seemed inevitable. "Do you remember," he said suddenly, "that night at Navy Pier, when you made me ride that ridiculous Ferris wheel?" Despite everything, I smiled. "You were terrified." I wasn't terrified. I was cautious. There's a difference. You held my hand so tight I lost feeling in my fingers. You laughed the entire time. His voice softened. That's when I knew. Knew what? That I'd do anything to keep hearing that laugh. Face any fear, fight any enemy, burn the entire world if necessary. He met my eyes. "That hasn't changed, Emma. 8 months, 8 years, 8 decades. It won't change." The medication was making me drowsy, but I fought against it. What if it's not enough? Love isn't always enough, Nikolai. Not with your life, your world. Then I'll change my world. Men like you don't change. Men like me don't fall in love either. Yet here we are. He stood, moving to the window. "I've already started, you know. Moving things around, legitimizing more of the business. It's why Victor was concerned. Why the Bratva was watching. You can't leave that life. No one leaves the Bratva. No one takes what's mine either. But the Dimitrovs tried. Rules can be broken, Emma. Power can be shifted. It just requires the right motivation." He turned back to me. "You were always the right motivation." My eyelids were getting heavier. "This conversation isn't over." "No," he agreed, returning to the chair. "Sleep, Solnishko. I'll be here when you wake." "That's what I'm afraid of," I mumbled, but I was already drifting. I woke to voices, low and urgent. The room was dark except for the hallway light streaming through the door's window. Nikolai's silhouette was tense as he spoke in rapid Russian to someone on the phone. "Don't care what Mikhail says. Double the security. Yes, tonight." A pause. "Because she's exposed here. Too many entry points. Too many variables." Another pause. Longer. "Then make it happen. Whatever it costs." He ended the call and turned to find me watching. In the dim light, his face was all shadows and sharp angles. "What's wrong?" I asked, though I already knew. After months in his world, I recognized the signs of threat assessment. "Nothing you need to worry about." "Nikolai," he sighed, moving to sit on the edge of my bed. The intimacy of it, the way his weight shifted the mattress, bringing me slightly toward him. It was achingly familiar. "Someone leaked that you're here, that you're important to me." "The Dimitrovs?" "Possibly. Or someone else looking for leverage. I've had enemies long before you, Solnishko." His hand found mine in the darkness. "But no one will touch you. I promise." "You can't promise that. Not in your world. Watch me." The fierce certainty in his voice sent shivers through me. This was the Nikolai who'd built an empire on blood and brilliance, who'd survived wars that killed stronger men. "This is why I left," I whispered. "This constant danger, constant watching over shoulders." No. His grip on my hand tightened. You left because you thought I didn't love you. Because you heard words meant to deceive others and believed them. The danger was always there, Emma. The difference is now you know about it. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He read the message, his expression darkening. What is it? Nothing. Stop lying to me. He studied my face for a long moment. Someone's in your apartment. My men are handling it. Ice flooded my veins. What? Who? We'll know soon. He typed something quickly. But this is why you're not going back there. Not until I'm certain it's safe. This is insane. I can't live like this, Nikolai. Bodyguards and safe houses and... The penthouse isn't a safe house. It's our home. He stopped, correcting himself. My home. But it could be ours again. You can't just... His phone rang, interrupting me. He answered in Russian, his face growing progressively darker as he listened. When he hung up, the temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Tell me, I demanded. Your apartment was searched, professionally. They were looking for something. I don't have anything. I don't know anything about your business. They don't know that. He stood, pacing to the window. Or they're looking for leverage, personal items, information they can use. Did they find anything? Did you keep anything from our time together? Photos, gifts, anything that would confirm our connection? I thought about the box hidden in my closet. Photos from Navy Pier, from that weekend in Wisconsin, from 100 moments I couldn't bear to throw away. His mother's pendant he'd given me for my birthday. The first edition Pushkin he'd found at an estate sale. Emma? Yes, I admitted quietly. There's a box. He closed his eyes briefly. Then they know. They know what you mean to me. You don't know that. I know how these people think. How I would think. He turned back to me, decision made. You're checking out tomorrow. Coming home with me. No arguments. Nikolai? No. Arguments. He moved back to the bed, framing my face with his hands. Do you understand what will happen if they take you? What they'll do to you to get to me? You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. You should have been scared 8 months ago instead of running off alone. His thumb stroked my cheekbones. I can't lose you, Emma. Not again. Not to them. Not to misunderstandings. Not to your stubborn independence. I can't. The raw emotion in his voice broke something in me. Okay. He pulled back slightly. Okay? I'll come to the penthouse, just until this is resolved. Relief washed over his features. Thank you. But Nikolai, this doesn't mean... I know what it doesn't mean. He released my face, stepping back. It means you're letting me keep you safe. Everything else we'll figure out. A nurse came in to check my vitals, breaking the tension. She smiled at Nikolai, who'd returned to his chair like a guardian statue. Visiting hours are actually over, she said apologetically. I'm staying, Nikolai said simply. Sir, I'm afraid... He pulled out his phone, made a quick call. Administrator Richards? Yes, this is Nikolai Volkov. I believe the hospital received a donation last month. The new pediatric wing? A pause. Excellent. Then I'm sure you'll understand my need to ensure Miss Chen's safety tonight. He hung up, looking at the nurse. I'm staying. She nodded quickly and left. You can't just throw money at every problem, I said. Of course I can. It's surprisingly effective. But his attempt at levity fell flat. We both knew money couldn't solve what lay between us. The next 2 days passed in a blur of antibiotics, negotiations, and Nikolai's constant presence. He worked from my hospital room, conducting business in 3 languages, running an empire from an uncomfortable chair. Associates brought him documents to sign, tablets to review, problems to solve. Through it all, he never left for more than a few minutes. "Don't you have an actual office?" I asked on the second day, watching him review what looked like architectural plans. "I have several. This one currently has the best view." He glanced at me meaningfully. "That's a terrible line." "It's not a line if it's true." Dr. Martinez arrived for my final checkup before discharge. "Your numbers look much better. The antibiotics are working. But you'll need to continue oral medication for at least 10 more days. And rest. Actual rest, not working from bed." "She'll rest," Nikolai said. "I can speak for myself." "Then speak," Nikolai challenged. "Tell him you'll rest, that you won't push yourself, that you'll take care of yourself properly." I glared at him, but addressed the doctor. "I'll be careful." Dr. Martinez looked between us with barely concealed amusement. "I'll have the discharge papers ready within the hour." After he left, I confronted Nikolai. "You're enjoying this, ordering everyone around. I'm ensuring your recovery. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because from where I'm sitting, lying, it looks like you're back to your old controlling ways." His expression darkened. "My old controlling ways kept you safe. My new, more lenient approach got you 8 months of danger you didn't even know about and a hospital stay. That's not fair?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "None of this is fair, Emma. It wasn't fair that you heard half a conversation and ran. It wasn't fair that I had to let you go to keep you safe. It wasn't fair that you collapsed alone in my building while I sat in a meeting 20 feet away. Oblivious." 20 feet? He nodded tightly. "The conference room is directly across from where you collapsed. If Gerald hadn't found you, if you'd been there much longer. But he did find me. By accident. Pure chance." He stood, pacing again. "I've controlled every variable in my life since I was 15. Every outcome calculated, every risk assessed. But you're chaos. Beautiful, infuriating chaos that I can't predict or control. Is that why you let me go? Because you couldn't control me?" "I let you go because I thought it's what you wanted. Because the one thing I could control was my own suffering if it meant your happiness." He stopped pacing, facing me. "But you weren't happy, were you? These 8 months." I wanted to lie, to protect myself, but the truth spilled out. "No, I was miserable." "Then why stay away?" "Pride, hurt, fear that what I heard was true, that I really was just a distraction." "You were never just anything, Emma. You were everything, are everything." Before I could respond, the door opened and a man entered. Tall, broad, with the kind of scarred face that spoke of violence survived. I recognized him as Dmitri, Nikolai's most trusted lieutenant. He spoke in Russian, rapid and urgent. Nikolai's expression grew progressively darker as he listened. Finally, he responded in the same language, his tone sharp enough to cut glass. "English," I said. "If it's about me, I deserve to know." Dmitri looked to Nikolai, who nodded. "The Dimitrovs have put a price on Miss Chen," Dmitri said, his accent thick. 50,000 for information on her whereabouts, 250,000 for delivery. My blood turned to ice. "What?" "They know about the hospital," he continued. "We intercepted communications. They're planning to move when she leaves." "How many?" Nikolai asked. "Unknown. At least one team, possibly more." "Double the security." "No, triple it. And call Mikhail. Tell him I'm collecting on Chicago." Dmitri nodded and left. "What does that mean?" I asked. "Collecting on Chicago? It means calling in every favor, every debt, every alliance I've built." He moved back to my bed. "No one moves in this city without my knowledge. By the time we leave, I'll know exactly where every threat is, This is insane. This is necessary. He sat on the bed's edge again, taking my hand. I failed to protect you 8 months ago. Failed to make you understand what you meant to me. I won't fail again. What if they're too many? What if... Then I'll kill them all. He said it simply, like discussing the weather. Every last one who threatens you. You can't just... I can, and I will. This is who I am, Emma. This is what loving me means. I will paint this city red before I let them touch you. The savage protectiveness in his voice should have terrified me. Instead, God help me, I found it reassuring. 8 months of looking over my shoulder, of jumping at shadows I didn't even know were threats. And here was Nikolai ready to wage war for my safety. I hate this, I whispered. I know. I hate that loving you means living in fear. I know that too, but I can't seem to stop. His hand tightened on mine. Stop what? Loving you. I tried for 8 months, told myself what I heard was true, that you were a dangerous man who saw me as disposable. But even believing that, I couldn't stop. Emma, that's why I took the job at Maddox. Not for the money, for the possibility of seeing you. Just glimpses, just enough to pretend for a moment that things were different. He lifted my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. Things can be different. I'm making them different. You can't leave the Bratva, Nikolai. You said it yourself. No one leaves. Then I'll change the Bratva, modernize it, move it fully legitimate over time. That could take years, decades. Then it takes decades. He met my eyes. I have nothing but time, and everything to gain. The discharge papers arrived, breaking the moment. As I signed them, Nikolai made more calls, arranging what sounded like a military operation. When the nurse arrived with a wheelchair, he stopped her. She won't be leaving through the main entrance, he said. Sir, hospital policy has exceptions. He made another call, and within minutes, the administrator himself appeared. Mr. Volkov, how can we help? Service elevator, private exit, now. The administrator nodded quickly, personally escorting us through a maze of corridors I didn't know existed. The service elevator was large and industrial, nothing like the public ones. Dmitri and 3 other men were waiting inside. Is all this really necessary? I asked as the elevator descended. Humor me, Nikolai said, his arm around my waist, supporting me though I could walk fine. The elevator opened to a loading dock where 3 identical black SUVs waited. Engines running, windows tinted so dark they looked like portals to another dimension. Which one? I asked. Middle, Nikolai said, helping me in. But they won't know that. As we pulled away, the other 2 SUVs peeled off in different directions. I watched through the tinted glass as the hospital disappeared, replaced by the familiar streets of Chicago. All this for me? All this and more, Nikolai confirmed, his hand finding mine in the darkness of the car. Whatever it takes. The drive to the penthouse was circuitous, doubling back several times, taking routes that made no sense unless you were trying to lose a tail. Finally, we descended into an underground garage I remembered too well. Home, Nikolai said softly as the car stopped. But it wasn't my home anymore. Was it? The private elevator still required his thumbprint and a code, still played soft classical music as it rose 40 floors, still opened directly into the penthouse with its soaring ceilings and wall of windows showcasing Chicago in all its glittering glory. And it still took my breath away. Nothing had changed. The white marble, the modern furniture, the Chagall painting I'd fallen in love with at an auction. Even the throw pillows I'd insisted on buying, impractical but soft, remained exactly where I'd arranged them. You really didn't change anything, I said wonderingly. I couldn't. He set down my bag from the hospital. Every change felt like accepting you weren't coming back. I walked to the windows, looking out at the city spread below. 8 months ago, I'd stood in this exact spot, watching sunrise paint the sky gold. I'd been happy then. Completely, stupidly happy. "Your room is ready," Nikolai said carefully. "The guest suite, I mean. Unless... The guest suite is fine, and I wasn't ready for the master bedroom with its memories and implications. I'll have Dr. Marcus come by tomorrow. He's better than anyone at the hospital. Nikolai. And I've had Marina prepare soup, that one you like with the ginger and lemongrass. You don't have to. I do." He moved closer but maintained distance. "I have 8 months of taking care of you to make up for." "That's not how it works." "Then tell me how it works." Frustration crept into his voice. "Tell me what you need, Emma. Tell me how to fix this." "I don't know if you can." He was quiet for a long moment. "But you're here. That means something." "I'm here because someone wants to kidnap me and use me against you." "You're here because you still care. Because despite everything, the fear, the anger, the hurt, you still care enough to let me protect you." I turned from the window to find him closer than expected, close enough to see the gold flecks in his green eyes, close enough to smell that cologne that still made my pulse race. "Caring was never the problem," I admitted. "Then what was?" "Trust." "I don't trust you, Nikolai. Not anymore." Something shattered in his expression. "Because of what you heard. Because of what I heard. Because of the secrets. Because your world requires lies and performance, and I never know what's real." "This is real." He gestured between us. "What I feel for you is the only completely honest thing in my life." "How can I believe that?" "Let me show you." He stepped back, giving me space. "Give me time to show you." The next week passed in strange domesticity. I was too weak to do much besides move between the guest bedroom and the living room, but Nikolai worked from home, keeping me company. He cooked, surprisingly well, and we ate together, carefully avoiding the elephants stampeding through every conversation. Marina, his housekeeper, fussed over me like a grandmother, bringing tea and supplements and disapproving looks whenever she caught me trying to do too much. "You need rest," she scolded in her thick Polish accent. "Mr. Nikolai, tell her." "She doesn't listen to me, Marina." "Since when?" Marina snorted. "Girl had you wrapped around finger from day one. It was almost like before. Almost. Except for the guards outside, the constant security checks, the way Nikolai's phone rang at all hours with updates on threats. On the 5th day, I felt strong enough to venture into my old studio. Nikolai had converted one of the bedrooms into an art space for me, though I was only a hobbyist. Canvases still lined the walls, half-finished paintings gathering dust. The one I'd been working on before I left, a view of the lake at sunset, remained on the easel. "You kept these too," I said when Nikolai found me there. "I kept everything." He leaned against the doorframe. "Dmitri thought I was insane. Victor said I was weak." "Victor's the one you..." I trailed off. "Had removed. Yes." No remorse in his voice. "He forced my hand with you. Made me perform that charade. He's lucky I only exiled him." "Only exiled?" "Would you prefer I'd killed him?" "I'd prefer you lived in a world where that wasn't a casual option." He moved into the room, studying the paintings. "You were getting better, this one especially." He indicated a portrait I'd attempted of him, catching him reading in the library. "It's amateur work." "It's how you see me." He traced a finger over the canvas. "Softer than I am. Better. That's how you looked when you didn't know I was watching." "I always knew when you were watching." He turned to me. "Just like you always knew when I was watching you, even these past 8 months. I thought I was paranoid. You were protected." He paused. "Are you painting again?" "No. Haven't had the heart for it." Another thing I took from you. I took it from myself when I left. Because of what I made you believe. We were talking in circles, always coming back to that night, that overheard conversation that changed everything. I moved to leave, but he caught my arm gently. Wait, I have something to show you. He led me to his office, a room I'd rarely entered before. It was all dark wood and leather, intimidating and masculine. But something was different. A second desk had been added, smaller, more elegant, positioned to face the windows. What is this? Your desk, from before. He ran his hand over the surface. You used to complain about not having a proper workspace for your laptop. I had this made but never got to surprise you with it. Nikolai. 8 months it sat here. I work across from it every day, imagining you there, arguing with me about my methods, softening my edges. Why are you showing me this? Because I want you to understand something. He moved behind the larger desk, pulling out a drawer I hadn't known existed. Inside were files, photographs, documents. Every decision I've made for 8 months has been about you. Protecting you, providing for you, trying to win you back without terrifying you further. He spread the documents out, contracts shifting his business toward legitimate enterprises. Property deeds for safe houses in my name. Trust funds established for my mother's ongoing care. Security details I never knew existed. This is insane, I breathed, overwhelmed by the scope of it. This is love. He came around the desk, standing before me. My version of it anyway. Obsessive, controlling, probably unhealthy, but absolute. You can't just, I can, I have, I will continue to. He cupped my face in his hands. Until you believe me. Until you trust me again. Until you come home properly. What if I never can? Then I'll spend my life trying anyway. His thumb stroked my cheekbones. There is no version of my future that doesn't include attempting to win you back, Emma. None. I should have pulled away. Should have maintained the careful distance I'd been cultivating. Instead, I leaned into his touch, closing my eyes. I'm scared, I admitted. Of me. Of how much I still want this. Want you. Even knowing what it costs. The cost is changing. I'm changing it. Men like you don't change, Nikolai. Men like me don't fall in love either. But here we are. When I opened my eyes, he was so close I could count his eyelashes. Could see the tiny scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood fight. Could watch his pupils dilate as he looked at me. Emma, he breathed, and my name was a prayer on his lips. I don't know who moved first. Maybe we both did. But suddenly his lips were on mine, and 8 months of longing crashed over me like a wave. He kissed me like a drowning man finding air, desperate and necessary. I kissed him back like I'd been holding my breath since I left, finally able to breathe again. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Stay, he whispered, not just until the threat passes. Stay. I don't know if I can. Then figure it out here, with me, where you belong. Before I could respond, his phone rang. The unique ringtone meant Dmitri. Urgent. Nikolai answered, his expression darkening as he listened. When he hung up, the warmth from our kiss had been replaced by ice. What is it? They made a move. Tried to grab one of my accountants, thinking she was you. Similar height and hair color. Is she safe, but shaken? He was already texting rapidly. This ends tonight. What do you mean? I mean, I'm done playing defense. He looked up, and his eyes were cold, the Bratva prince in full force. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone but me. Nikolai. But he was already gone, taking Dmitri and leaving me in the office surrounded by evidence of his obsession. I moved to the window, watching the city lights twinkle below, and wondered if I'd just kissed him goodbye for the last time. Hours passed. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Tried to eat but had no appetite. Marina brought tea and sat with me, her weathered hands holding mine. "He'll be fine," she said, though worry creased her face. "Mr. Nikolai. He's survivor." "How long have you worked for him?" 15 years, since before he was boss. Watched him build all this." She gestured at the penthouse. "Watched him become man everyone fears." "Were you here when his father died?" Marina's expression darkened. "Dark time. Very dark. Mr. Nikolai was only 19, had to fight for control. Many bodies before it was settled. But he won. He always wins." She squeezed my hand. "But you know what I never saw until you? Him smile. Really smile, not the cold thing he does in business. You brought light to this place. I left. You came back." "Because I had to." Marina shook her head. "Because you love him, and he loves you. Everything else is just details." If only it were that simple. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I opened it, and my blood turned to ice. A photo of Nikolai entering a warehouse. A message. "Come alone or he dies. You have 1 hour." An address on the south side. "Marina," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need to lie down." She helped me to the guest room, fussing about rest. The moment she left, I grabbed my coat and phone. There was no security in the penthouse itself. Nikolai had never allowed it in our private space. The guards were all downstairs. I knew it was a trap. Knew I should call Dmitri, call someone, but the photo showed red laser dots on Nikolai's chest. Sniper sights. If I raised an alarm, they'd kill him. The service elevator still responded to my thumbprint. Nikolai had never removed my access. I descended to the parking garage, my heart hammering. A row of cars sat waiting, and I knew where he kept the keys. The Range Rover started immediately. I plugged the address into GPS, my hands shaking. South Side, Warehouse District. Every instinct screamed this was stupid, but I couldn't risk Nikolai's life. The drive took 30 minutes. 30 minutes of terror and second-guessing. The warehouse was dark, abandoned, exactly the kind of place where bad things happened. I parked and walked to the entrance, my legs shaking. "Hello, Emma." I spun to find Victor standing in the shadows. Nikolai's former lieutenant, the one who'd supposedly been exiled. "Victor." "Surprised? You shouldn't be." Nikolai always was too soft to properly eliminate threats. He stepped into the light, and I saw the burn scars covering half his face. Though he tried, had his men burn my operations in Moscow, cost me everything. "Where is he?" "Inside, waiting. He doesn't know you're coming, of course. Thinks he's negotiating for your safety with the Dimitrovs." "This was all you?" "The Dimitrovs provided funding. But yes, my plan. My revenge." He smiled, an ugly thing with the scars. "He took everything from me because of you. Only fitting I returned the favor. He'll kill you for this. He'll try." Victor pulled out a gun. "Inside. Move." The warehouse was vast and dark, lit only by industrial lights hanging from chains. In the center, Nikolai stood with 5 of his men, facing a group of what had to be Dimitrov soldiers. They were negotiating, unaware of my presence. Then Nikolai saw me. His expression went from confusion to rage to fear in rapid succession. "Emma, no!" "Ah, the guest of honor," Victor announced, pressing the gun to my back. "Sorry to interrupt, gentlemen, but the dynamics have changed. Everything happened at once. Nikolai's men drew weapons. The Dimitrovs drew weapons, Everyone pointing guns at everyone else. A Mexican standoff with me at the center. "Let her go, Victor," Nikolai said, his voice deadly calm. "Like you let me go, burned and humiliated? You forced my hand. The Bratva Council. The council you manipulated. The performance you gave about her meaning nothing." Victor laughed bitterly. "Did you think I was stupid, Nikolai? Did you think I didn't see the truth? Then you know what I'll do to you if you hurt her. I'm counting on it." Victor pressed the gun harder against my spine. "I want you to suffer like I suffered. Want you to watch her die knowing you caused it. The Dimitrovs are here for money, but I'm here for blood." I caught Nikolai's eye, tried to convey strength I didn't feel. His face was marble, but his eyes burned with fury and fear. "What do you want?" Nikolai asked. "Everything. Your territory, your operations, your businesses. You sign them over, and maybe I let her live." Done. The quick agreement surprised everyone, including me. "Just like that?" Victor sounded suspicious. "Just like that." Nikolai pulled out his phone. "I'll transfer everything now. Just let her go." "No. She stays until it's complete." Nikolai's jaw clenched, but he started making calls, transferring accounts, signing over properties digitally. With each transaction, he became less the Bratva prince and more just a man trying to save someone he loved. "Your legitimate businesses too," Victor demanded. "Fine. The Swiss accounts." "Yes. Everything, Nikolai. Leave yourself nothing." I said yes. It took an hour of standing there with a gun to my back while Nikolai systematically destroyed his empire. The Dimitrovs grew restless, clearly not expecting this level of capitulation. Finally, Victor's phone confirmed the last transfer. "It's done," Nikolai said. "Now let her go." "One more thing." Victor smiled coldly. "Kneel." "Victor, kneel, or I shoot her now." Nikolai dropped to his knees without hesitation. The sight of him there, this powerful man brought low, broke something in me. "Please," I said to Victor, "you have everything. Just let us go." "Everything?" Victor laughed. "I have money, property, but I don't have my face back. My reputation, my life." He moved the gun from my back to Nikolai's head. "No." I tried to move, but one of the Dimitrovs grabbed me. "Did you know," Victor said conversationally, "that he killed my brother 5 years ago, before you? A business dispute. Very clean, very efficient. I never got revenge for that either." "Then kill me," Nikolai said calmly, "but let her go first." "Still giving orders?" Victor cocked the gun. "Even on your knees?" Everything slowed down. I saw Victor's finger tighten on the trigger, saw Nikolai close his eyes, saw my entire world about to shatter. "Stop!" The voice came from the shadows. Mikhail Volkov, Nikolai's cousin and head of the Bratva Council, stepped into the light with 20 armed men. "Mikhail," Victor said, suddenly nervous. "This isn't your concern. Everything involving the Bratva is my concern." Mikhail looked at Nikolai, still on his knees. "Especially when it involves family. He's weak. He chose her over the brotherhood. He chose love over fear, progress over tradition." Mikhail pulled out his own gun. "The council has been watching Victor, watching Nikolai transform our operations, watching him prove that power doesn't require brutality. You're defending him? I'm protecting the future." Mikhail aimed at Victor. "You represent the past, the old ways that will destroy us. Nikolai represents evolution. The Dimitrovs are already dead." Mikhail said it casually. "We hit their compound 20 minutes ago. Did you think we didn't know about this meeting? This trap?" Victor's face paled. "You knew?" "Nikolai knew. He walked in anyway because you had Emma." Mikhail smiled coldly. He gave up everything for her. Do you understand what that means? A man willing to sacrifice an empire for one person has proven what truly matters to him. The Brotherhood voted unanimously. Nikolai remains, Pakan. You die. The shot was quick, efficient. Victor crumpled, the gun falling from his hand. I didn't see more because Nikolai was suddenly there, pulling me against him, his hands checking me for injuries. You're okay? He asked frantically. You're not hurt? I'm fine. But you gave everything. I gave up nothing that matters. He cupped my face. Money can be remade. Power can be rebuilt. But you're irreplaceable. Very touching, Mikhail said dryly. Now can we leave? This place is depressing. Back at the penthouse, after doctors had checked me over and statements had been given, Nikolai and I sat on the terrace watching dawn break over the city. I was wrapped in a blanket, and his arms, finally warm after hours of cold fear. Mikhail gave everything back, Nikolai said quietly. The transfers, the properties, all reversed. Why? Because the council wants me to continue leading, to continue the transformation I've started. He pressed a kiss to my temple. Apparently, falling in love with you was the best thing I could have done for my reputation. It humanized me. So Victor's plan backfired. Spectacularly. He tightened his hold. Though I would have given it all up, Emma. Every cent, every building, every ounce of power. All of it for you. I know. And I did. Had seen it in his eyes as he knelt, as he signed away his empire. That's when I knew. Knew what? That what you said was true. That the conversation I overheard was performance. That you love me the way you say you do. I turned in his arms to face him. No one gives up that much for a temporary distraction. You were never temporary, never a distraction. He kissed me softly. You were the disruption that changed everything. That made me want to be better. Are you better? Getting there. With Mikhail's support, I can move faster toward legitimate operations. 5 years, maybe less, and the Bratva will be completely legal. And us? What happens to us? He pulled out the velvet box he'd carried for 8 months, opening it to reveal his mother's ring. An elegant sapphire surrounded by diamonds. Marry me, he said simply. Not because of danger or protection or obligation, but because I love you. Because these 8 months without you were the worst of my life. Because you make me want to be the man you see when you paint me, Nikolai. I know trust will take time. I know my world is still dangerous. I know I'm asking for more than I deserve. But Emma, you came for me tonight. You risked everything to save me. You did the same. Because we're meant to do this together. Face the dangers, build the future, transform my world into something you can live with. I looked at the ring, at him, at the city spreading golden below us. 8 months of pain, of misunderstanding, of thinking love wasn't enough. But maybe it was. Maybe love plus trust, plus sacrifice, plus the willingness to change. Maybe that was enough. Ask me again, I said. Emma Chen, will you marry me? Will you come home? Will you let me spend every day proving that you're the only thing in this world I can't live without? Yes. He slipped the ring onto my finger, where it caught the morning light like captured stars. When he kissed me, it felt like coming home after the longest, most painful journey. I love you, I said against his lips. I love you too, Solnishko. My little sun, the light that makes everything else fade to shadow. We stayed on the terrace as the city woke below, planning a future that seemed impossible 8 months ago. A future where love conquered fear, where trust rebuilt from ashes, where a Bratva prince could transform into something more for the woman who changed everything. It wouldn't be easy. There would still be dangers, still be challenges, but sitting there in his arms, wearing his mother's ring, watching Chicago shimmer in the morning light, I knew we'd face them together. 8 months of separation had taught us both the same lesson. Some loves are worth fighting for, worth changing for, worth sacrificing everything for. And ours? Ours was worth it all.